Okay, so it occurred to me what I'm really doing with my church. Or basically, anytime you hear me talk about God on this channel, I pretty much just say some crazy ass shit that I really believe or is within the realm of shit that I'm thinking about. And I just share that with the class. And the reason that I do that, I'm it's varied at this point, but I've watched so much shit on YouTube that is like gun related, prepping related, whatever that is from a Christian perspective, that is just fucking Looney Tunes. That like I don't feel bad anymore talking about, talking to God or fucking I don't know, Satan and witches and shit or whatever else. Like fuck these people. Let's chase off the squares. I assume if you're still watching at this point that you're like at least a little bit like me. And like to be honest, I smoke a lot of weed and sit in meditation and you know, talk on the internet. And sometimes in there I'm like thinking about Atlantis and God and shit, and I hope you guys find that shit as interesting as anything else. Because to me, the things that I focus my life on are basically like the Bronze Age, Atlantis, and God. Like it's kind of its own. It's like a clusterfuck of shit there, really. But like it's all ancient religions and archaeology and Atlantis, and the rest of it is all fucking camping and guns because that's what I really like. If you give me my druthers, I was watching the first few episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies, and Jed Clampett, when his cousin Pearl is talking to him about whether or not he should move to Beverly Hills, she asks him, "You are cooking on a wood stove, summer and winter. Your bathroom is 50 feet from your house. You got possums and skunks and raccoons and deer and whatever just all over your 50 acres of land that's all yours." And Jed's reaction, and you ask if I should, and you ask if you should move to Beverly Hills, and Jed's reaction to that is, "Yeah, man, that'd be a damn fool to leave all this." Jed is correct. If there's any like thing you should take away from this show, it's probably that like religion is more open to interpretation than people would have you believe. And that. you know, you should just be out in the woods on your own and do your own thing and figure out your own shit. No one can tell you anything about anything, really. No one can tell you about God. From what I've seen, most of the people that tell you that they're going to tell you about God lie their ass off to you. I don't know why that is. Occasionally, you'll meet some weirdo like me that sits on their own in the woods a lot. They'll tell you how it is, but they're also probably a fucking crazy person. So, I think the reality of it is that we're all crazy. Let me explain that. So, crazy is when you have decided that you are not going to continue to fit into modern society. So, by that definition, I think every person is crazy because when you are in your own private life, you do not fit in with whatever the societal norms are. You do as you please because you're alone. If you don't do that, I question your sanity. You are not just some cog in a collective. You're an individual. When you're on your own, you're going to be, doing whatever the fuck it is you want. And there's some people that, they fit in just fine. In fact, there's a lot of people. My Uncle Brent, great example. All he wants to do is, jerk off to big titty blonde women and watch John Wayne and football. And if you provide him a way where he can make money at very little effort to do this, he'll put up with all sorts of shit, right? That's why we have society. It's basically people like that exist. In the 1700s, a lot of what we consider today as society would not be accepted. Basically, outside of the court of royalty in France and England, what you think of as modern society didn't exist. You need to get that. You need to get that you live in some sort of modern fucking creation of hell. Get that too. And this is what Jed Clampett gets. Is that basically he has a slice of heaven. He has everything he wants. It's an interesting place to be. And from a religious perspective, that's why I like the woods. In reality, you think that you're going to starve to death in the woods or freeze to death in the woods or whatever. Everything about that is your lack of knowledge. I focus a lot on Arctic survival because I find it fascinating. Arctic, subarctic, Alaska. The thought of being a mountain man in Alaska is on my list of things to do because I like snow. And the thought of surviving in Alaska and preparing to that level, I find makes Oklahoma and Texas seem rather tame. Even in winter, assuming that I'm prepared properly, I could be outside all winter in the harshest weather we have in fucking Oklahoma or Texas. Provided I have good boots and a good jacket and a fire and the rest of my clothing, hopefully. It's not really an issue. Okay? Not for a night or two. Past that, it would suck. Okay? This is the shit that you learn being out there alone or whatever, is what you can and cannot do without. And what I just described there, assuming that you had the big enough pile of firewood or a chainsaw / axe to fucking go get more firewood, you could survive in Alaska doing that for a couple of nights. It would suck. In parts of Texas, you don't even need the fire. Stop being a pansy. I don't really know what we're talking about now, other than our church, God, whatever. That's funny to me, though, that basically I view this as every fucking gun channel on YouTube almost makes some sort of fucking half-assed reference to God or whatever. And it's not that I think that's bad. It's that I would like to represent my views, and my views are not theirs. And I don't consider my views to be evil. I think I'm definitely within the realm of good and or Christian even. Unless I'm a Muslim now. I did make that video a while back, but to be honest, I really fucking hate the church people. I get to hate the church people more and more every day because I view them as the root cause of most of this. They have perverted God's message for their own fucking ends, basically. No one goes to church anymore because of the church people. Myself included. Like, I stopped going to church a long fucking time ago. My church now is meditating with the prayer beads and smoking some weed and hanging with the cat and thinking thoughts. And to be honest, I kind of think that's where most people should end up with God. You should end up at pondering the universe alone. If your goal is to understand God or to be closer to God, how much better could you understand Him than sitting in nature, especially alone, and thinking about the things that I think about, basically, which is all of the religious bullshit, all of the historical bullshit, everything that we know about what's happened in the last 30,000 years on this planet, basically. That's what I like to think about while I'm alone. And try to decide for myself what really happened. While at the same time knowing that, like, there is the one true God, you know. Tolkien called him Irilúvatar, the one, Iru. Iru means literally the one. I thought that was cool. That's kind of what I like to call God, to be honest. Either that or Crom. I like Crom because Crom doesn't listen. I'm like, fuck that bitch. I guess that's, you know, the truth in life is that Crom does listen. Crom listens to the Valiant at the moment of fucking death and a few other times. And when he speaks back, it's thunderous and awe-bringing. The sky turns fucking purple. It's most of what I remember about that day, to be honest. July 8th, I had some sort of a spiritual experience. I don't know how to call that, really. I said I was talking to God, but the whole fucking, like, it was like a 2 or 3 day period, really, around that day, where, like, there was a lot of strange shit going on, but the sky was kind of purpley for a while. The thing that I would describe it as is, go look up The Great Hunt. It's Odin's Great Hunt or something like that. You'll see a video from some folklore channel about that shit. That's what it felt like. It felt like all the spirits were fucking loose on Earth and they were all fucking flowing through this house, to be honest. That was the night the Georgia Guidestones blew up. I really don't know what all that has to do with one another, but, like, I still think it's weird as fuck that my little vision quest, whatever, talking to God timed with that. Like, that was weird as fuck. The thing that I like to think about God is basically, if I were God, how would I build the universe? Or at least, based on what I see, how would I order the higher universe? Kind of as above, so below shit. And this is like some Freemasonry thinking. It's like, okay, we have observed this, this, and this. And it's pretty clear that there are higher spiritual planes. And maybe even other dimensions. So, like, I wonder about that shit. Like, honestly, I think it would behoove a theoretical physicist to speak to me. I don't know exactly how, but this is one of those things that, like, there's many times in my life where, like, I've spoken to an expert at something, dissected what they do, gone to the core of it, and then told them a better way to do it, and then gotten thanked for it. I have a savant skill at cutting through bullshit. And part of this is that, like, you know, one of my favorite lines of all time is in the movie Pearl Harbor. They're talking about the Doolittle raid plan that was come up with a submarine commander. I like submarine commanders. They don't have time for bullshit, and neither do I. Well, making knives or whatever else with your own hands, the only thing that matters is success, right? It's that kind of thinking that I think makes me kind of cut through people's bullshit. There's a whole lot of, we have to do this, we have to do that. You don't have to do anything. You think you have to do X because that's the way you've always done it. I like to examine a thing, figure out why it is that we might have started doing that, and figure out if it still needs to be done. And being able to look through people's lists of shit like that and just cull things streamlines processes. It's impressive to watch, I've been told. And this is where, like, really, I should do something in manufacturing, but I don't know how to get that job. And it's one of those, like, most people aren't Sherlock Holmes. And, like, I'm not saying I am, but when I'm going to make something, that's who I try to be. So, like, if it's something that we're making and it's at a cost point or whatever, like, I don't think it's outside the realm of reasonable to try a bunch of different experiments and shit. See what makes it cheaper. See what's really necessary and shit. Like, this is how I make knives. That's, you know, my heat treating methods. A lot of people would look at it and be like, well, that would never... why would you do that, basically? And most of it's just heating shit up with a propane forge because it's cheap and cost effective, and all you need is the cutting edge of the metal to get to a certain temperature. Now, if you're going to make a big sword or something, other things start to matter. But if all you're doing is making a knife, it's actually kind of preferable that just the cutting edge be hard, in my opinion. Swords are a more complex matter when you start doing that shit. The odds that you fuck it up are pretty high. Whereas, you know, just doing it on a 4-inch to, say, 12-inch fucking blade of some sort with a fucking giant torch and a hole, you know, you have a degree of control over it. Anyway, I like cutting through people's bullshit, and in religion, there's a lot of bullshit to be cut through, isn't there? There's a fucking lifetime of that shit. That's kind of, whenever you're seeing me talk about religion, that's what I've done for myself to figure this shit out to the level that I do. which I know nothing. That's one thing you should get about me, is I realize that I know nothing, basically. And you should probably join me. The things that are within the realm of possible go up quite a bit when you realize that. There's shit written about in old texts in the Bronze Age and shit that, like, I'm not saying everything happened, but there are certain key things that did mostly happen as they were said, to some extent. Some misinterpretation, some Sea of Reeds versus Red Sea bullshit going on, right? If you know the Moses story. But for the most part, like, a whole bunch of shit really went down. And I think we're watching some more biblical shit happen now with what's going on in the world. I'm curious to see how this shakes out. Maybe this is just, everything goes in cycles. About 100 years ago, we had a pretty bad war. It was a war that ended a long period of peace. And it was fought with new technologies that the Earth couldn't imagine. Just a short period before. That was World War I. I think what we're watching now is the cycle repeat. It's been a long time since we had a big war. There's a bunch of new tech. I think we're seeing, like, they're really going to do this. I don't know how bad World War III is going to be, but we are fighting World War III now. That's how this conflict will be known. I fully expect the Chinese to start fucking around in Taiwan or Korea pretty soon. And they want Taiwan. Our response to them trying to do anything in Taiwan should be to invade Korea. And to go for the throat. Like, go for the Chinese border. And that would be like, how do you plan to invade Taiwan while you yourself are being invaded? That's, I don't know that China knows that we're going to do that, but that is 100% what America will do. We will invade mainland China through Korea. That's what I would do. That's what Patton would do. That's what half of your fucking war college is probably telling you right now. They're going to do that. Eventually, someone's going to listen to whoever it is that's voicing that opinion at the Pentagon. My guess would be it would be after China actually does invade Taiwan. That will be one of our responses, is to open up another front there. Because opening up another front there will necessitate China fucking doing shit that will ease things on Taiwan, at least. If we really start invading through North Korea and into China, they'll have to pull out of Taiwan entirely. They don't have the fucking troops to defend themselves and attack Taiwan. China likes to talk about having a big, million-man army or whatever. That's a bunch of bullshit. It's a bunch of conscripts that can't even shoot straight. Anyway, I don't know where religion fits into all of that, but it seems like when World War I happened, there was a death of a good old queen, and then her pissant son came to power. And, like, again, I don't know what royalty has to do with all of this, but there seems to be an effect that royalty has on the world, whether it's by divine intervention or because everyone's fucking sycophants and just looks to fucking something to have an example of how to be. I think there's more of that than there is the divine whatever. And I think it's like my girlfriend Dakota was obsessed with the British royal family. I know a bunch of other people that are too. And in rich circles, they emulate. That's what they desire to be. They want to be the new nobility. Kind of fucking sick. As such, they can set a tone. And I think the tone set by, Queen Victoria or Queen Elizabeth was much of one of peace. Occasional, flusters. The whole fucking, Prussian War thing. Oh, Victoria's case, and then we could talk about Queen Elizabeth and her shit, but for the most part, they reigned over a big period of peace. For whatever reason, I think it's just like pent up male aggression or some shit, but whenever that old bitch dies, and now their younger son has the throne, especially in Prince Charles's case, he was raised by Lord Mountbatten. Wasn't raised by him, but like the way the royals raise their children is sick and pathetic, and they're starved for attention. And Lord Mountbatten was the person that gave Prince Charles that attention. And if there's any person that should never be fucking King of England, it's Lord Mountbatten. He tried to overthrow Queen Elizabeth at one point, if I remember correctly. Not good. That's what I see when I see Prince Charles now as Lord Mountbatten. And that person is leading the upper crust of the world because he is who he is. Like, there's not that many royal lines left. There's what? Japan has an imperial line. England. Some of the other, like, European states have kept their nobles around, but they're like the fucking, Duke of Albany or some shit. It's a title. It's not really there's nothing to go with it. With the Japanese and the English, there's countries to go with it. There's the Saudi Arabians, and there's the Moroccans too. A few others. The nobility of this new, I don't know what to call this new era we're going into. But they're going to set the tone for many, many things. And I see, like, religion especially. Look at the upper crust of the world now. Are they very religious-y? No, they're not, are they? If anything, they're like anti-religion, and I think we're going to war as a result of it. And go listen to the Black Sabbath song War Pigs. Generals gather at black masses and all that shit. That's what we're headed for. Like, a bunch of evil fucks are running us into the ground. That's how I see it. Well, I don't remember even really where this fucking started out at, but I hope someone has found out something about God from my, 30-minute devotional. I should make a daily devotional. Your daily dose of Jesus with Ray Ray. See you guys later.